So I think I've held on to this information for setups for long enough now, and it's time to give them to you. This setup is for Latvia in the old Rally1 Toyota, but I have used it on the Rally2 Yaris, and it still works out quite nicely, but you will have to make the odd change here and there. As always, these setups were done in TT, in spring or summer, whatever it is, on the soft tyres, and the setups are only a baseline setup to give you a good, strong base to build from when it comes to tuning your own personal setups. Now, because this was made in TT, you must take into consideration that if you want to use this setup in clubs or in offline mode, then you will have to make slight changes depending on what tyre you're on and what track deck happens to be in play at the time. But all of that I will cover after giving you the main baseline setup, just to give you an insight on how to go about it. So then, Latvia, what can we expect? So it's very, very fast, very demanding, and keeping that momentum up and being very consistent in the way you drive in order to slash down those times. Staying within the road marks or the tram lines is another good idea, and that is where the most grip usually is found. So driving the correct line is a must. Now, there are a lot of calls that come out, and in my opinion, they don't reflect the actual corner radius. There's many 3s and 4s that could be taken a lot faster, provided you have set the car up properly before approaching the corner. So then, as for our alignment, this is how I like to run. For me, it provides stability in toe in and camber angle. Now, for reference, by toe angle, if you went all the way left, negative, you're actually taking it out, and vice versa. If you take it all the way to a right, you bring the toe angle in. Now, in most games, it's the opposite of that, but this is what we have to deal with. So, for this alignment, this is what we're going to go with. Perfectly fine, perfectly stable, offers what you need to do. Now, for our braking, quite simple braking. We don't want it too high, we don't want it too low. You can really go anywhere from 7,500 to 2,900, anywhere in that ball range, whatever suits you best. And brake bias the same, 57 to 59%, you're in the right ballpark. That just being because it's fast, brake to the front will just help it slow down that bit faster, but also put that weight over the front tyres so we can get a more productive turn. Now, for our differentials, I like to run my differentials like this. I don't like them fully locked, and I don't like them fully open to where the game allows us. I tend to go a few clicks down. That's just so there's still a tiny bit of symmetry within the front axle, but also they are still allowed to spin at different speeds. And then 15% on the braking just offers a strong nose braking for the front, because we do have a lot of pressure going through. So just trying to minimise that lockup as much as we can. Now you can see your preloads, or how I see my preloads, is how much understeer do I want? If I want lots of understeer, I crank them all the way up. If I don't want any understeer and probably more oversteer, I will crank them all the way down. But we're going to run at 26.25 for the front preload. Now for the rear driving lock, 35%, just got that a little bit higher, just so we can allow the car to find more grip when we're coming out of heavy traction zones. So anywhere where we need to get on the power fast. Braking lock, again, similar to the front, we've got a lot of pressure going through, but because we've got more pressure going to the front than the back, we can have this a bit higher just to enable not getting as many lockups when we're braking. And I don't want the car to be fully oversteering, so 40 Newton meters on the rear preload. That will just help keep the rear a little bit more stable. Then for gears, obviously we're dealing with a very, very fast rally here. There's lots of long straights, there's lots of fast corners where we don't really want to lose momentum. We need to be running quite long gears, but we don't run them too long that we bog down in the lower gears. So we've gone with quite a bog standard gear ratio setup, but we've moved the final drive to 0.265. You can run this up to 0.285. That is down to you depending on how you feel when you get on the stage. But anywhere between them 2 points, you're good to go. So I've seen a lot of YouTube setup tutorials lately, and I'm not saying they're wrong, I'm not saying they're right, but for me and my driving style, most people have quite a high slow bump and then a really low fast bump. And for me, I find the car can be quite lazy in that sense. And realistically, the dampers are there to sort of aid with the stability, you know, over your bumps and your jumps and absorbing stuff. So I would say, with like how I do it, use the dampers to help your stability and then use the suspension to help with the bouncing. So we are going to run with our damping on this one. 3, 1, 0.78 and 3. The 0.78 per meters second, that is basically how much travel in the damper that there needs to be in order for it to go from a slow bump to a fast bump. So you imagine you're going over a jump, then the travel time, once it hits that point, it will switch the damper to the fast bump, and then you'll get that reading of fast bump, which is obviously lower than our slow bump. But if you go over a little bump and you've not got the travel time, it will stay on your slow bump setting. So for the slow rebound, I like to have between 2 and 3. I think that's a good, solid number. And all this is going to do is resist that damper extending, just to give us that little bit more stability. And with it like this, yes, we might lose, you know, a bit of the resistance, etc, etc, but that's where my suspension profile comes in. So now with our suspension, we've only took the ride height down a little bit, and for ride height, anything between 46 and 60, it depends on how you drive with the car. Now, while I was talking about with the dampers applies to spring rates, going back to what I said about other people's setups, they'll have quite a shallow fast bump, so it's really soft when it transitions from a slow to a fast. And then they'll have a really soft suspension. So essentially what's happening is you'll go over a jump, the fast bump takes over, you've got that really soft damper and then really soft springs, and it just causes the car to bounce a little bit. And that bouncing can unsettle the car. It works for some, it doesn't work for others. For me, I just prefer to control the bouncing of the car through the suspension, and I like to control the stability of the car through the dampers. So now we're going on to anti-roll bars, and the best way to understand anti-roll bars for myself, the softer it is, the more oversteer. The stiffer it is, the more understeer. We're on gravel, and the way I like to drive, I like to get it rotated very early on in the corner, just so I can get on the power a little bit quicker. Not everyone drives like that, and there's nothing wrong with how you drive, but that's just how I like it. This feels very good at 31 for both rear and front. So now we'll go on to the changes that you might need if you use them in a club event or an offline event. So mainly, what I would be changing is the diff, the brake pressure, and the anti-roll bars. These are all sort of things that help with oversteer, understeer, and just the grip of the tyre. So when I talk about the tyres, a soft tyre generally has more grip or wears quickly. So this is what this setup is based on. But if you was to go for a medium tyre, this is now where the tyre life is longer in exchange for less grip. So due to the lack of grip, we need to look at changing our diff profile to suit. Now for me, when it comes to a medium tyre or a harder tyre, I like to add a notch or two on the driving diffs, both front and back. Now for me, I like to allow the diffs to rotate a bit more at different speeds, just so that tyre can find the grip. Now, so obviously, soft tyres more grip, medium tyres less grip. So we need the tyres to find that grip. Now the same goes for our braking diff. Because we have less grip, then that means we need a bit more on our braking diff. Again, that's just to allow the tyres to rotate at different speeds a little better to find that grip. So this may be counterintuitive to some, but with a harder tyre, it offers us less grip. And because it offers us less grip, there is no point running a higher brake pressure. All that's going to happen is you'll get to the point where you lock the wheels a lot faster. Now, and we all know if you lock up, you've increased your stopping distances, and it may even lead you to completely missing a corner or going off completely. Now, for the anti-roll bars, and to keep this simple, if you go all the way left, that increases body roll and thus oversteer is going to happen. And then by increasing the stiffness, it creates understeer. And again, never change them too extremely. Small changes at a time until you find what works best for you. But there you have it. It's been a week. There's your first setup. I will bring you more in the upcoming days. I'm just testing out and finding out what works best for each car type. But if you enjoyed this video, and it has helped you, please subscribe to the channel. Also, like the video so this video gets out to other people. And until the next time, I will see you all in the next one.